Donald Trump just delivered some very bad news to the deep state as he continues his quest to restore America's integrity. Trump has officially declassified the assassination files for MLK, JFK, and RFK, leaving some people in an uproar. And if I'm being completely honest, I'm still trying to develop a level of understanding as to what the public sentiment is centered around this. So today we're going to be doing just that. Apparently, we just witnessed history.
Lastly, sir, we have an executive order ordering the declassification of files relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
That's a big one, huh? A lot of people are waiting for this for years, for decades. And everything will be revealed. Okay?
You know, some people are in panic mode because of this.
Give that to RFK Jr.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Okay.
See, Donald
Thank
Trump
you
got
very
set in
much.
office and he means nothing but absolute business. Now, it said right here that MLK was under FBI surveillance due to suspicions of communist links, which were unfounded. His files included recordings, transcripts, and documents that have been partially released over the years. The interest here is often about understanding the extent of the government's surveillance, MLK's personal life, and any potential threats and plots against him. So we're going to dive into MLK first, and then we're going to check out what's happening with JFK. So with MLK, it's been reported that he attended gay orgies. He was a serial adulterer, laughed at a woman getting unconsensually touched. Well, yeah, I said that wrong, but y'all know what I'm trying to say. Committed adultery the night before he died, and he was a communist. He was no Christian, and he's certainly no man we should have a holiday for, according to Smash Files. I'm just upset that I had to say that. So these are the documents, apparently. Let me try to get this on the screen for you a little bit more. Hold on. Hold up. Wait. Oh man, I'm messing it up. I'm messing it all the way up. Okay, here we go. We got it on the screen for you right here. I'm gonna try to be able to see this real quick. Pause if you have to. But Richard wrote on the side, FBI docs from the 60s. Hoover involved, not buying it. Hoover was a paranoid cross-dresser who was probably homosexual. Somebody else says, so this is such an odd American concept. Throughout the rest of Western world, we don't give a what someone does outside of work hours is what someone else is reporting. So yeah, I wanted to leave that up for y'all to be able to decipher on your own and gain your own perspective. But these are the things that have been reported. And if so, I do personally, I don't care what somebody does in their personal life. Obviously, if you're a religious figure, you're going to be held to a different standard by the world on things of that nature. It doesn't mean that I agree with your decisions that you make outside of work hours, so to speak. But no, I don't agree with these accusations are all real in terms of the doing his wife dirty and laughing at somebody whom was inappropriately touched. Yeah. These are things that we can definitely judge somebody for. Now, shout out to my homegirl locked in with Zaza. She actually offered a perspective on Donald Trump. Martin Luther King from what she learned about him and the truth that she's about to reveal. May shock you.
Go back and listen to Martin Luther King. They was the real. They assassinated them.
Let me say something about Martin Luther King that I learned. Martin Luther King was a fraud. Okay, Martin Luther King. I learned that Martin Luther King received one of the first awards from Planned Parenthood from Margaret Sanger directly. They was friends. And that led me to ask, what type of reverend was he? I thought he was Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Why the hell is he getting accolades from Margaret Sanger? That blew my mind. I used to live on MLK Drive in Chicago. I said, what? They had us worshiping this man since I was born. I've been learning about MLK since I was a little tiny child. And to learn that this thing has been a fraud this whole time blew my mind. It truly did. Why is MLK receiving awards from Margaret Sanger if he is supposed to be a reverend? Nobody can answer that question. That is crazy as hell. Please, if you didn't know that, please look that up because that blew my mind. That blew
Right.
my mind.
I sure did.
Wow. Wow. Margaret Sanger, she's coined and known for starting Planned Parenthood, which is known for known for being a strategy of trying to get rid of the black population. So then it fell into welfare, and then it fell into the conversations like welfare and government assistance and things of that nature. But any home, we're talking about somebody whom is coined for abortions and championing it, and now giving Dr. Martin Luther King, who's a reverend, an award for anything. The fact that he would accept it if it is true, it's not okay. That doesn't align with my beliefs personally. Right now, we're seeing people whom are melting down at the idea of the legacy of Martin Luther King being torn down. They can't. They look at it as Trump declass. I'm sorry. I'm going to clear everything up. I was just trying to say, Trump declassifying the documents leads the Democrats to believe that he's somehow doing it with the malicious intent to only discredit and somehow demean Martin Luther King. When the truth is, we want to know how he was unalived. We want to know the involvement of the deep state, so to speak. You know, the government, the three-letter agencies whom were involved in making his disappearance happen. These are the things that the people want to know, and unfortunately, it is going to come with some truths that most people aren't going to like. That's just what it is. Right here, Black Capital CIA, who hated MLK's guts and monitored his every movement, has photos of him being beaten. This is, again, a post by Black Capital, who's not necessarily convinced by everything that's happening. He says, I'll start over. The FBI and CIA, who hated MLK's guts and monitored his every movement, has photos of him being beaten, locked up, and shot, but they don't have photos of him uh, doing intercourse with someone or doing anything criminally illegal. Make it make sense. So these are some of the photos that he shared right here. Again, I can go ahead and get this moved over for y'all a little bit. You know, I know I'm working right here on the spot for y'all. I mean, editing right here on the spot. My bad. But anyhow, y'all know how we get down. It's more important to get the understanding. So this is them in front of a mattress and awning company. You can see that police are catching black people running away, apparently. And then he posted this picture of Martin Luther King vacationing. And his point is they have him vacationing, not with other women or men, make it make sense. So he's pretty much saying that the assumption that Martin Luther King is somehow was the adulterer and somebody who cheated on his wife and had all these different affairs is true. Why don't they have visual proof like they have visual proof of everything else? This is him, his locked up photo. This is him, I believe, on the balcony in which he passed away. That was, well, he got shot at. I ain't gonna say passed away. This is where he passed away in the hospital, right? You can see him alive. He got shot in the face and he looks, wow. Which leads to other conspiracies in terms of how he died, which is why we want to know what actually took place. Now, let's see what the comments are saying about this. Somebody says they agree. Well, I'm sorry. Somebody said, even if all kinds of accusations are true, it doesn't undo the good that he did. This practice of destroying the image of our significant historic figures is odd and really unhealthy. Now, I'll say that what's more unhealthy than that is not being able to have access to the truth. I won't sit here and lie to you guys and act like I'm not in some way, shape, or form unsettled by this. I grew up knowing Martin Luther King to be this reverend who had high integrity and moral ground centered around the idea of in, uh, getting rid of division in America. So to learn that everything that I thought of him is not that, well, I ain't gonna say it's not that, but to know that he participated in some things that I don't agree with, and then also find out that the government participated in a lot that I don't agree with either. It's daunting for sure. Technology was not the same as it is today. Somebody pointed out, amen to that. Meaning, to the point of the post when he was asking why do they not have any photos of intercourse with Martin Luther King? She's saying, look, they don't have the same camera systems, they don't have the same internet systems, and none of that communications that we have available to us today. They don't have that. No, I agree, man. They probably have some drone footage and everything if they wanted. She said, people want those things about MLK to be true because of their disdain and hatred of black men. They really think black men are not worthy of humanity, let alone respect any kind of regardless. I'm sorry, let alone respect of any kind, regardless of their sacrifices. Ooh, excuse me. That's not true. I don't know why people think that trying to get to the bottom of the root of an issue always have to be because of somebody's gender or color. It don't make sense. I don't understand that approach, especially today. Right? It's an old propaganda trick they've used forever to rally up the sheep. They messed up in making him a martyr. So their only choice was to destroy his reputation. Yeah. Let's go ahead and transition to this clip right here where Judge Joe Biden, who's somebody who's known for being very outspoken, he's speaking on the MLK assassination here. And he reveals he knows who was behind the assassination. He claims to be the FBI. I'm gonna go give me some tissue here as y'all start the beginning of this.
I gotta ask you about Martin Luther King. You know who was behind his murder, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Okay, he was assassinated by a two-man hit team from the fire station. Not from the flop house, not from the bushes, which were right below the window for the flop house. Flop house window never opened far enough to shoot a rifle out of it. The bushes weren't the place. The reason people think it was coming from that location was the echo off of the front of the Lorraine Motel. The weapon was an M14 converted to an M21. It was an experimental project. They made 62 of them with an extra barrel. They put a Redfield 3-9 power scope modified by a company known as Leatherwood on it, and they had a suppressor which caused the sound to be modified. They shot subsonic ammunition, which is why they took a head shot instead of a chest shot, which would have been the usual course. And the shooters were most probably recruited from the Marine Sniper School at Quantico, Virginia, which was just across the tarmac from an FBI training academy. So they were supplied with the FBI was supplied with 5 XM21s by invoice, serial numbers of which I have secreted around the place.
I really don't have much to add to that. I'm learning just like y'all. The details that he just mentioned are gruesome. The great lengths that these people will go through to try to eliminate this man. Wow. Now, I wanted to make sure that we were offered a perspective from somebody whom worked behind the scenes, so to speak, or has a level of understanding on how these 3-letter agencies work, and can offer us some insight into why people want these files declassified in the first place. I believe right here we're moving on to Candace Owens now, and she's given us a level of understanding as to why people are demanding the JFK assassination files. It says the assassination of JFK in 1963 has been surrounded by numerous conspiracy theories. The official narrative is that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, but public interest in the files stem from the desire to confirm or refute these theories. The JFK Records Act of 1992 mandated the release of all assassinated-related records by 2017, with some exceptions for national security. Yeah, so government transparency is the ultimate goal in which we are trying to accomplish here.
There once was a president named JFK, well-liked in 1963. He had a
I want to make sure you guys have a decent volume as you listen.
There once was a president named JFK, well-liked in 1963. He had a little bit of a brush-up with what was then known as the American Zionist Council. In June of that year, 1963, the American Council for Judaism issued a newsletter saying that they were being asked by the Justice Department to register as a foreign agent of the state of Israel. And they had Senate hearings, 2 Senate hearings that year, to look into Israeli foreign agents. And JFK was demanding, his DOJ was demanding for the AZC registration. They were like, you are a foreign agent of Israel. And the department wrote to them in October 11th of 1963, the DOJ wrote a demand to the AZC, the American Zionist Congress, to respond within 72 hours regarding them registering as a foreign agent. And guess what happened? And I guess that ended up working in their favor, because then LBJ became president. And LBJ was very pro-Zionist organization. And his aunt, and this is, by the way, looking at a Jerusalem Post headline here, because I know I get in trouble for knowing these things. A friend indeed. New evidence reveals the incredible aid Lyndon Johnson lent the Jews. And from a direct quote from that article is, research into Johnson's personal history indicates that he inherited his concern for the Jewish people from his family. His Aunt Jessie Johnson Hatcher, a major influence in LBJ, was a member of the Zionist Organization of America. Aunt Jessie had nurtured LBJ's commitment to befriending Jews for 50 years. As a young boy, Lyndon watched his politically active grandfather, Big Sam, and his father, Little Sam, seek clemency for Leo Frank, the Jewish victim of blood libel in Atlanta. Fast forward today, AIPAC has just surpassed $100 million of spending on the 2024 election.
Wow. Mind you, this was a clip that was made obviously prior to the election result. But yeah, she just discussed JFK's attempt to have AIPAC register as a foreign agent. And that was a move that was not pursued after his assassination. And following JFK's death, Lyndon B. Johnson, who was known for his strong support for Israel, became the president. Now, the shift in leadership marked a significant change in U.S. policy towards Israel, which Johnson started to foster a closer alliance. Yeah, but they said that the discussion ties into broader debates about influence of lobbying groups like AIPAC in U.S. politics and foreign policy. And there's ongoing scrutiny regarding AIPAC's operations and whether it should be required to register under the Foreign Acts registration. Let's definitely go to the comment section on this. It says JFK. Well, no, I don't even know what that is. I want to make sure I understand what's going on. Somebody right on, Candace. Johnson made the government stand down on the SS Liberty, and his mistress was said by some to have been a spy. The insanity continues. We have our republic to save. Either help get Trump. Oh, wait, hold on. That was, well, this is, like I said, this was in September of last year. The AIPAC is the arm of Israel that controls the U.S. America isn't as sovereign as we claim. I am an American citizen and I donate to AIPAC. If AIPAC is funded by American citizens, why would it register as a foreign agent? This is the reason why we need these documents declassified. I think it's important that we hear RFK's perspective on the situation, given that he was somebody who campaigned and also coordinated with Donald Trump to make sure that this could happen.
You lost your uncle, you lost your father. I mean, that's horrible.
Yeah, but what are you saying? Are you...
No, so why do you think that our government could be involved in...
Oh, well, you know, listen, when the Warren Commission, obviously, which was run by Alan Dulles, who was the head of the CIA, who my uncle fired, found that it was a lone shooter, which was Lee Harvey Oswald. But when Congress, a congressional committee, reinvestigated between 1977 and 1979 the House Select Assassinations Committee, they concluded, and they saw a lot more documentation and had a lot more witnesses than the Warren Commission ever saw. They concluded that my uncle was killed by a conspiracy. And most of the people, for example, Richard Schweitzer, who was the head of the committee, publicly said JFK, the President of the United States, the CIA was involved in the murder of the President of the United States. And that's quotation. Mm-hmm. Most of the people on that committee at that time believed it was the CIA, that it was believed certain people in the CIA.
You were 7 at the time? 7 or 8?
I was 10 when my uncle was killed. I was 14 when my father was killed. No. And today there is overwhelming evidence. I mean, in fact,
why don't the government needs to release all of the files on it and let be transparent. Let us see the information.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. There's still, the law requires, there's a law that requires that all of the records of John Kennedy's assassination be released to the public 10 years ago. So they're still holding 5,000 documents. President Biden promised when he was elected that he was going to release those documents. President Trump promised that he would, but the CIA doesn't want them to. And so the question that I think Americans have a right to ask, including members of, my father and uncle's family, is why not? What is it that you don't want to see 60 years later? And by the way,
that was a very profound statement, and I 100% agree. It's 60 years later. What could we possibly not handle at this moment?
The last tranche of documents released had documentation in there that finally got even the New York Times to admit that Lee Harvey Oswald was a CIA asset, that he was working for the CIA. So, if the Warren Commission had known that back in 1964, they would have had a very different time. And the House Assassinations Committee never knew that. Mm-hmm. That was released. We've known that we've had documentation that have known that at least a decade. But some of that documentation became overwhelming in this last tranche. And finally, the mainstream media acknowledged that, yeah, he had this relationship with the CIA going back to 1957 or 1958.
Wow. So, learning about Martin Luther King's private life and how he was somebody who was awarded by Margaret Sanger, I definitely found that as a surprise to me. I would like to do more research into that specifically to see just how open he was and with his arms about that or not. I learned that with JFK, there's potentially a second shooter involved, allegedly right now. I learned that both Trump and Biden attempted this prior. Well, Biden for sure prior. And deep staters didn't want this to happen. I can't say that I've found any comfort in the information that I've learned today, nor can I say I have a greater understanding of everything outside of just the gist of what's going on. So I'm going to continue to monitor this situation and figure out what these documents are saying and figure out what the conclusion is from that. I want to go ahead and take this time to say thank you to each and every last one of y'all who support my channel. You made it to the end of this video, like, yo, you're dope. Like, yo, you ill for that, man. Like, you gotta comment below, and I gotta give you a special thumbs up for making it to the end of the video. And thank y'all for joining me on my Patreon. Recently, we've been racking up subscribers over there. Also, the donations that y'all give throughout the videos. I want to say thank you for that. Lastly, make sure y'all check out the pinned comment. If I forget to pin the comment, go to the description. Follow me on all of the different platforms that we have available. But yeah, my level of understanding with this developed just a bit, but comfort level, it ain't there.